everyone, this is Ben Zinn with NextLevelGuitar.com. Today we're going to take a look at another one of our Inspired By lessons using the slide. As you can see, we're going to play some great licks, learn little bit about the slide, and just generally have some fun sliding around the guitar. So, hey, before we continue, take a look at this text box below. Click on this link in this YouTube text box, and what we're going to do for you is send you a free video lesson and a free ebook from NextLevelGuitar.com. It's not available on YouTube, only available through the website. So take a look at that and we'll continue on. First thing we're going to want to do is grab our slide. Tons of options when it comes to slide playing. Some people play glass, some people play brass, some people have metal, porcelain. They all work. It's just personal preference. You see I have mine on my middle finger. This is a little bit uncommon, and if you're just getting into slide, I'm going to recommend they actually probably put it on your ring finger or your pinky finger. That's what most people tend to do, but I'm a little bit stubborn in my old age, and I've been doing it this way for a while. So I'm going to roll on the middle finger. You do whatever you want, whatever feels comfortable. Basically, the techniques are going to be the same. So before we get into some of the licks, I want to talk about controlling the sound a little bit. Playing slide can get a little messy, if you know what I mean, if you're not careful. So we're going to look at some of the things we can do to execute some control as we're sliding around the guitar. Let's start out by just playing. We'll pick a string to play on, string 5, and we'll take a look at some things we can do to keep control of the ringing notes and eliminate some of the excess ringing notes. Go ahead and take your slide and slide up to the 7th fret, right above the fret, not where you'd press down on the fret, and just let it hover there. You don't really need to add any pressure to it. Just let it rest right there and see if you can get a nice clean sound without any of the additional strings ringing out. To do that, on my right hand, I'm going to silence the surrounding strings, the neighboring strings. See, I'm going to play with my index finger, but you'll notice that my thumb and my middle finger are kind of guarding against any of those other notes ringing out. What happens if I take those away? You can hear a little bit more noise getting into the mix there, which can be cool if you want that for effect, but in general you want to really target the note you're going for and eliminate all the extra stuff. Okay, so on our slide hand, when we want to add that sort of singing quality to it, vibrato, there's a couple of things you want to keep in mind in order to keep that end of things under control too. And what I like to think about when I'm adding vibrato to a note on slide is like a pendulum. We have a kind of a middle point, and we go this way, but it always returns to this central point. And if we think about our fret or our note as being that central point, and we're always kind of returning to that even though we're moving across, it really helps to create a nice solid vibrato sound. I'll show you what I mean. So using our example from before, that 7th fret note, I'm going to play that note and now add vibrato to it, but I'm going to swing back and forth at the same rate and the same distance in order to create a nice even vibrato. You can adjust the speed of your vibrato, but what's really important is to keep the depth the same. You're going forward the same amount as you're going back. You can even increase the depth if you want to, as long as you do it the same on either side. It's going to sound nice and consistent and nice and in tune. Want a really wild sound? Just add more depth, add more speed. You can see there I'm even, going across 1 or 2 frets even with my vibrato, but because I'm keeping it consistent, it still sounds like it's in tune. So just a couple of things to keep in mind when it comes to controlling the notes when you're playing slide. Remember to play only the notes that you want and mute all the other ones. And also try to maintain a very consistent vibrato. Those are all good starting points, and you can kind of experiment with them once you have those concepts down. So now that we have a couple of those control issues down on both the left and right hand, let's take a look at some of the key licks that we're going to be learning today. I'm going to be playing mostly out of an A minor pentatonic scale here, adding some blues notes. So just to review, I'll play this with the slide. And by the way, this is good practice for control on your slide. Or if you want to practice that sliding in between the notes, you certainly can to get used to that as well. So within that scale pattern, now what I'm going to do is take a look at a repeating motif that sounds really great, really bluesy. And the notes are pretty simple. The hard part is just kind of keeping control of the pitch. Really, we're only going to be working with 3 different notes here out of the scale. So it's A, G, and E. I'm going to start out by striking the A note and quickly sliding down to the G note. And here's where it gets tricky. I need to silence that note and shoot my slide right up to the E note and be ready to play that right afterwards without hearing any additional noise. That mostly is going to come from the right hand. I'm going to play string 4 with the index finger, and then as soon as I start moving back up towards the 5th string, I'm going to deaden with my first finger. It's kind of an on and off. By making contact with the string, I can silence it immediately, and that sets me up for my next note. So as you can see, the key is to create separation between your strings to get a clean sounding lick. Practice that slowly, repeat it a bunch of times so it's nice and clean, and then you can work on speeding it up. The key sound of the lick is kind of just repeating it over and over again, nice and clean, introducing some speed to it. So it creates this nice figure that you can kind of start repeating over and over again over a blues section, a southern rock kind of section. Works well in a lot of different instances, so you can kind of experiment with it that way. Once you get the technique down too, you can try it with other note combinations. It works great in a lot of different places. And of course combine it with all your other slide licks there too. Okay, now that you've got that lick down, let's add a little nugget onto it, shall we? We're just going to add a little tail to this lick. So you're repeating that lick over and over again, you know, starting to get nice and intense, and you want to find out some way to get out of it and resolve it. Here's a great way that you can do that. The cool thing about the slide is, of course, we don't have to stick to the fretted notes. We can kind of get into the spaces in between, and this is a great way to do that. What I'm going to do, we'll take a look at the tail end, and then we'll put it all together. Up here on the 3rd string, 5th fret, we know that note's in the scale, but there's also a hidden treasure note that we can kind of sneak into by just moving up a little bit. We're not going to move all the way up to the next note. We're going to be somewhere in between the 5th fret and the 6th fret, starting at the 5th, and almost like we're just making that note a little bit sharp with our slide. It's these in-between notes that make slide playing great. It makes it more like you're singing, because singers can kind of move in between the notes, and when we're playing slide, we can as well. So just kind of gliss up a little bit from that note and resolve it to the A note, the root note of the key. So that creates a nice tail to the lick that we learned before. Let's see what happens when we put both of those together now. Okay, so there's a couple of things to get you started playing slide guitar. Hope you had fun with that today. Now keep in mind this is just a launching pad, a way that you can use some of these ideas to create some of your own licks. Keep listening to music, keep checking stuff out, and build on to what you've learned today. Keep practicing with the slide. It just gets easier and easier the more you keep it in your hands. So make sure that you visit our website too at nextlevelguitar.com. We have plenty more videos, plenty of great content for you to check out there. We have lessons, over 1,000 lessons for beginner students, advanced students, intermediate students, all sorts of styles, all sorts of great stuff there. So keep practicing. We'll see you back here next time. Thanks.